guys, it's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in today. I feel like I'm in like a creative kick. Like I feel like I keep coming up with ideas. Maybe it's just me like patting myself on the back. But I feel like, I don't know. I just feel creative today. And I was laying in bed and I was looking through my iPad and I was on the Sephora app and then I stumbled across this idea. So if you go on the Sephora page right now, one of the first things that pops up is first at Sephora. It says shop new palettes. And if you're like me, you are a palette junkie. You see new palettes and you're like, ooh, yes, awesome, new things. Even though we know, you know, that there are plenty of palettes in your collection you do not touch. So I'm going to be your voice of reason of why you don't need any of these palettes. And if you really truly want to love this palette and you're like, you know what, screw that bitch, I'm just going to buy these palettes anyways. You do you, and hopefully you get a lot of love out of it. But knowing me and knowing my shopping habits, I just need to talk myself out of all these palettes, and so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to be scrolling through them on my iPad here, but maybe I'll also put in like a little clip of me scrolling through on the computer so you can see the palettes that I'm talking about, because I'm sure. So I'm just going to go through each palette one by one, say why I'm not going to purchase it, and then you can decide for yourself of whether or not. Hopefully this just helps you see reason. Maybe it'll help you save some money. Or maybe you're just going to be like, wow, look at all these new palettes. I need all of them. So we'll just go through this. So the first one here is the Tarte Be a Mermaid and Make Waves Eye Palette. Packaging adorable. It is honestly a seashell. Like if you are a mermaid lover, this packaging is adorable. Shadows wise, you know, it's just like a rosy palette and then a couple blue shades. If I was a mermaid, I feel like I'd be all about blue, purple, like really bright sea colors. And this is not what I would picture for a mermaid. So why am I tilted this way? Anyways, in general, I feel like you probably have some rosy colors in your collection. If you had the Naked 3, I'm sure you could substitute a bunch of those. I know myself, a lot of those pink shades look pretty similar. Like if you look at them, some pinks are just very similar. Of the 3 cool shades, they don't look bright enough to actually bother. Does that make sense? Like maybe it's just the picture that they showed, but it honestly doesn't seem bright enough to really make a difference. I don't know. I'm just not into it. $42. I say that's a pass. Urban Decay Back Talk Eye and Face Palette. I'm not a huge fan of eye and face palettes because seldom do I use them together. But if you want a cohesive look, that is definitely an option. It's $46. It looks like you have 4 face products and then 8 eye products. The eyeshadows, if you have the Naked Heat, I don't, but I just don't see a need to purchase this one. Warm, basic, that purple's pretty, but that's definitely the pop effect in effect at the moment. That like purpley color. The face products, I don't know, they just don't see, looking at them, they don't seem super pigmented. So I'd be nervous for someone who has a deeper complexion. This palette may not work for you. I just think Urban Decay, especially for limited edition items, they're going through limited edition items like water. I mean, that Christian Leanne set is already on sale. So I say, if you're interested in that Urban Decay palette, I would wait. And then maybe if it gets on sale, then you can purchase it. But for me, $46 is too much for something like that for myself. Pat McGrath Labs. It is a eyeshadow palette that is 6 shadows for $55. That's pretty pricey. I mean, it's still less than $10 a shadow. But I mean, it doesn't look anything special. It's just like browns. I'm sure you have browns in your collection. I know I do. I have plenty of those shades. I don't think you need that one for $55. And it's limited edition. I say no. Alright, here we get interesting. The Natasha Denona palette. $129 anyways in her whole range. Why are you so expensive? Like, I really want to know. What makes your eyeshadows amazing? If you guys have tried her shadows, let me know down in the comments. I've only tried one when I worked at Sephora. We only had one that we carried in our store. It was good shadows, but is it twice as good as other palettes? Because it has to be twice as good to be twice the price, right? So $129 and you get 15 shadows. So $129, 15 shadows. If you cover up the bottom row, It's just like a warm tone palette, so I don't see anything special about the top 2 rows, honestly. I feel like I could substitute that with my Jaclyn Hill palette. I have a couple Sephora Pro palettes that would probably substitute all those colors. So what you're really left with is the pop effect of the bottom row. So I'm asking myself, and you should do the same, do you actually use the Corner of Cool in your Jaclyn Hill palette? Because if you don't need this palette, because that's what is catching your eye, is that row of Cool, those purples and blues. So until you use those other ones that you have in your collection, don't bother with this palette, especially for $129. Benefit, they have a blush palette. So, okay, moving down, we have Benefit. They have a blush palette. It's a Blush Bar Cheek palette for $58. This is a $145 retail value. If you've never tried Benefit boxed blushes, they are a good option. I do think this is a decent deal, but I have noticed with all of them that have come in this formula, or this format, the formula is not the same as the traditional box blushes. So if you know the box blush formula, you like how easy it is, how blendable it is, I have always noticed the 4 or 5 of these versions that they came out with, of these like palettes of their boxed stuff, they are not the same. They just usually don't have the same amount of pigment. Sometimes they don't blend as well. So for me, $58 if you don't have any of the box blushes is a good option if you have always wanted to try them. But if you are going into this knowing you love the box blush formula from Benefit, you might be disappointed. I don't know, maybe they have the same formula in this one, but I know in my personal history, they're never the same. Natasha Denona also has a 5-pan palette for $25. I have mixed feelings about this. It's pretty. You could definitely make a couple good looks with this one. You get 5 shadows, so pretty much you're paying $5 a shadow. I mean, that's pretty affordable if you break it up per shadow. Because for me, I buy singles between the $5 to $10 range. However, is it the same quality? And that's what you have to ask yourself, because I heard with the small 5-pan shadows that they had at Christmas, they were awful. So I would just be wary going into that one. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, maybe if you're interested in trying a Natasha Denona palette, you might wait for some reviews to see if it's still good. Moving on, we have Violet Voss. I've always wanted to try a Violet Voss palette. I've had a couple of hers in my loves list for a while. This one here, Like a Boss Pro Eyeshadow Palette. Looks very pretty, but I feel like I have all of those colors in my collection already. The only color that stands out to me is that green. So I don't see why I need to buy a whole palette for that one color, for that one cool green color. Everything else is warm toned. I probably have those in my collection already, so I'm just gonna say pass. I'm sure it's pretty. But I do like how it is warm and cool. I will give it that. Packaging looks pretty, and it's $45 and you get a lot of shades. So this one, if you don't have a lot of palettes, for me, I feel like you could get a lot of looks out of this one. I haven't tried their formula, but right now it has 5 stars, so there's that. Next we have the Kat Von D I Am Divine palette. This is the pop effect in effect, like hardcore. So this has a whole cool toned row of shadows. It's 8 shadows. The ones that stick out to me, I'm sure you are the same, where it has that green and those blues. I am just someone who's not into blue and green eyeshadow on myself. And if you take out those 3 colors, those 3 brights, what you're left with is just like a gray, a silver, and a black, which I know I have in my collection already. So $38, I'm going to pass on that one as well. Moving on down, we are going on to the Huda Beauty palette, and this is the Obsessions. The Obsessions are a good option. They're $27, you have 9 shadows. I'm not saying anything bad about these guys because I've had my eye on that one, that rosy one, for a while. I haven't done it though, even though it's pretty. I just know for me, I have my Cool Tone palette from Sephora collection, and I love that one, so I don't see a need to go and buy a specific small palette except for travel. I think they're a great option for travel, absolutely. The Viseart Petite Pro Palette 2. I like Viseart shadows. I don't know if they're cruelty-free. And I'm going into this not even saying if it's cruelty-free or not. I'm just saying whether or not you need the palette. So I don't know if they're cruelty-free. I do have one of their palettes and they are amazing. I have both a full-size one and I have one of their smaller ones. I do enjoy them. This one in particular though, I don't see enough variety. There's too many pinks where I feel like I would easily get into a rut of how many shadows I could use or how many looks I could make. So this one is a pass just for a variety of shadows. I'm sure the formula is pretty decent, but like you really have to like pink eyeshadow looks to buy that one. Moving on down, Bobbi Brown, their Crystal Drama eyeshadow palette. Ooh, doesn't even have 3 stars yet. It's $59. I got the Nude Drama when it first came out, and though that palette and her shadows in general are geared toward fair people, because I couldn't even get most of those shadows to pick up on my skin tone. The glitters are super, just follow everywhere. The blendability is good, but the pigment is just lacking. So for $59, for a small palette, it's small. I would say pass. The colors just don't seem like there's enough variety. Again, it's very light colors. I just don't like the shade selection for one. It's cool tone, which is nice, but again, you have to be like extremely fair to pull that off, which I think is such a bummer. I feel like she needs to get maybe a different eyeshadow formula or try different color combinations for her palettes, because that is not gonna be for the wide market. Touch in Sol, they have the Mentalist High Shine Bouncy Cream shadows. I've never tried anything from them, so I can't really speak about it, but $42, you get 6 shadows. It looks like it's a cream formula. Again, the colors just seem very similar. Maybe it's different on the lids, who knows, but they just look too similar. And I think if you are interested in maybe 1 or 2 of those colors, maybe go for a ColourPop Super Shock shadow, because those are awesome and they're only $6. So maybe that's an option for you if you're interested in those. Next we have the Pretty Vulgar, another brand I haven't really tried, but looking at that palette, I just feel like it'd be a muddy mess. Does anyone else think that way? All the colors look similar, like they're in that same tone. They're in that like mid-tone color, like nothing is super dark. Nothing, like they have a couple light shades, but all of them are in that mid-tone that I feel like they'd easily like blend and blur together. Does that make sense at all? Color-wise, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't feel inspired looking at that one. It's $35. The Smashbox Photo Edit Eyeshadow Glitter Trio. No. I just think I don't know. I'm sure it's good. I do enjoy the Cover Shot eyeshadow palettes, and I feel like it's only $5 more and you get more shadows, so I think you should do that instead than getting like this little trio. So if you're interested in Smashbox, look at the Cover Shot eyeshadows, because I do enjoy those, and you get more shadows, so why wouldn't you do that? Kevyn Aucoin. This one is cool. It's $57, and so I feel like if you are interested in that Natasha Denona one, this might be a better option for you because you have more variety, I think, and you can easily pair with other things in your collection. They have that top row of light shades and transition colors, and then they have a bunch of color, some warm, some cool, and you do have that blue green option. So $57, it's half the cost of the Natasha Denona, so if you're interested in that one, maybe check out the Kevyn Aucoin, the Electric Pro palette. I don't know. Moving on to more trendy palettes. Ooh, let's look at trending palettes. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. So we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam Eyeshadow Palette. I don't have any of her palettes, and I don't want you to purchase it just because you think you need to collect it if you are a Anastasia person. I know a lot of people, I follow a couple of groups on Facebook, they bought it and then they are regretting their purchase, but they wanted to complete the collection. Why do you need the whole collection? Are you planning on selling it in the future? It's not like you're a collector of like magic cards. Wow, I'm totally dorking myself out. But you're not someone who's collecting like toys that need to be mint in box. Does this make sense? Like, why do you need the whole collection? Just to have it? Because that's not a good enough reason for me to spend $42 on a palette I'm never going to use. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's me being really feisty. Color-wise, it's pretty. And I can see if you don't have many shadows and you're looking for a neutral palette, the Anastasia formula, if it's like the Modern Renaissance, is easy to blend. and it's very easy to work with if you're a beginner. So if it's that type of formula, I would say go for it because it is a great option. I mean, you do have a lot of transition colors. You do have some pops of color that you can easily use if you want to veer into the color. So this one is a good option, but if you already have Anastasia eyeshadows, I don't think you need this one. Does that make sense? I'm trying to talk you out of buying it just to have a collection. Same with this guy here, the Urban Decay Naked Petite Teat. If you're an Urban Decay collector, why do you need this little baby guy for $29? Because I feel like if you already have the Naked Heat palette, or if you already have other palettes in your collection that have these colors, I'm sure you do, you don't need this little guy. If you don't have the Naked Heat and you're just wanting some Urban Decay shadows, this is a good option. I mean, I do like it best out of the Naked small palettes because it actually is variety, where the other ones kind of have a little bit like same, you know? So I don't know. I just never understood buying a palette just to collect it. That just isn't my thing. I'm gonna move away from the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk because I feel like that one's been along for a while and it's not really a new one. I think it's just the trending ones, but I mean, it's pretty. I heard mixed reviews, but if you're into Huda Beauty, $65, really, they are good shadows. Next, we have the Makeup Forever Starlit Glitter Palette. It's 6 shadows for $45. I just don't feel inspired when I look at Makeup Forever. Is that mean? Like, looking at this, you have like 2 pinky purple shades, one champagne, one like lighter champagne. Looking at this, it just doesn't spark my creativity, and maybe that's just me not having the same vibe as this, but again, I'd probably just buy the 1 or 2 shadows I'm interested in a single, even out of their own formula if you want Makeup Forever formula. But for me, I just don't see the need for a full palette. We have this Sephora Collection Pro Editor palette. I do own that one. And as you can see, that palette has a lot in it. You have your row of like your hollow highlight type deals. You have your row of warm tone, your row of cool tone, and then you have your row of like metal, really cool textured eyeshadows. This has a lot going for it. So if you were looking at a bunch of these palettes previous to this one, you're wanting to try a whole bunch of different trends, this Sephora Pro palette is awesome. I own it. I use it all the time. It has all the colors that I need, and maybe that's why I don't see a need to buy other things for different formulas, because they do a great job. I will say it does have a little bit of fallout because it's pretty much pure pigment. So you're gonna have a lot of impact and you just need to use a delicate hand. So there's that. Too Faced, no. I'm not 7. So that whole collection just didn't draw my attention. If you are into the mystical stuff, you do you. But for me, as you can see with the colors, like look at the color difference between that one and the one above it of the Sephora Collection. The Sephora Collection ones are like pow in your face. The Too Faced ones are a little bit more muted. And you still have that, if you look up in the top row of the Sephora Pro, it has a lot of the similar shade as like the one that's like the big pan, that's like the hollow color. So for me, I just think that is a pass as well. Pat McGrath Labs is the last one, I believe. Yes, it is. And this one is $125. Holy smokes. That's intense. 2 pops of color. So that's it for this video. I don't want to be super negative. I didn't want to, like, if you want one of these palettes, you do you. I hope you get a lot of love out of these palettes. But I'm talking to the people who are just buying it to buy it, or you're trying to talk yourself out of it. Hopefully I'm your voice of reason, because I feel like right now in the beauty community, we were so focused on buy. Now we have to use our collection. So don't get the little veil of, ooh, it's new in front of your face and have the need to purchase it, because I want you to take a step back, look in your collection, and maybe is there colors that you already have that are similar? Or if you look at a palette, is there maybe just the 1 or 2 colors that really draw your attention? Maybe you can get maybe singles instead. This is just a way for you to save money. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Maybe if you want me to just do more of these types of videos where I go through like the Sephora newness page and tell you what I think is good and bad, I can do that as well. But hope you found this video interesting, or at least entertaining. Thank you so much for coming by today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.